Hey, hello, hi. It's been a long time since I've done a create something with me video or voiceover video, but I really had a lot of fun designing this pattern for the most recent Spoonflower challenge, and I wanted to take you all along with me as I design this pattern. So, a lot of my process is a little chaotic. I don't make decisions very easily, and it takes a lot of trial and error to end up with something that I'm happy with. But whenever I start a more complex pattern, particularly if I plan on using acrylics or watercolors to design a painting rather than using my digital drawing software, I like to start with a sketch first, planning out the design before I put any real paint to paper. So for this pattern, I started by planning out the design, and I had this idea of creating a sort of damask style, gothic, textured diamond pattern. But diamonds are hard, especially when you want the centers of the diamonds to be different. So I was sitting on the couch with my partner, watching TV, and started planning out how I wanted this diamond to look. Both with little skulls and ghosts and bats and spiders. And I tried making it so that everything would look balanced, but also everything would be a little different, because I really like it when you can't quite tell where the pattern starts and stops. Once I had everything planned out, it's time to go to the easel. So this is where I take out my watercolors and I have the sort of trial and error planning sheet taped to my easel so that I can get an idea of what my plan is. But when the paints come out, chaos kind of takes over a little bit. And so we mostly stick to the plan. Sometimes it goes a little off the rails, but I like trying to create all of my pattern elements on the same sheet of paper. That way I can see easily how the colors are matching, and I can work on things together so that it has a cohesive feel to it. You'll also notice I'm kind of just a little off camera, but every so often my head whips around to look behind me. It's because my reference images are on my laptop in the background. You also cannot see my very messy studio / office. It's probably for the best. Yes, I moved 4 months ago. No, I'm not organized. It's fine. Everything's fine. So whenever I'm doing watercolor elements, and every watercolor pattern is different, but for this one, it's just kind of layers after layers after layers of adding color, adding shadow, adding unique elements until I am happy with how the overall design looks. The other thing I tend to do when I'm hand painting creatures or symmetrical designs, I find symmetry very difficult. Also, symmetry doesn't exist in nature in most instances, so there's that, but I find making things perfectly symmetrical by hand very difficult. It is often something I need to do in my drawing software, which, for the record, I use Affinity, and we will get to that in the second part of this whole run through. But often what I will do is I will just kind of create half of an image, and then I will replicate it on the other side. So for both the bat and the spider, you can notice one of the wings on the bat and the legs on the spider aren't fully finished. That's entirely on purpose, and also because I kind of panicked, but we won't get into that. Where I fully intended to just sort of map out the plan of the wings and the legs to get an idea of where they were going to go, but then I was going to kind of like copy, flip, and paste from the other side so that there was a little bit more symmetry than what I can accomplish by myself with my rather clumsy artist hands. I'm not good at precision. I'm a perfectionist, but I'm not good at precision. And I feel like with patterns like this, a little bit more texture and character, maybe a little wonkiness is fun. It adds to that element that I was going for of vintage and old and maybe a little grungy and dark. But we want legs to match. Once we're right at the end, so all of our designs are made, it's just kind of fine-tuning the details, I end up going in with some really pigmented either light or dark colors to add highlight and shadow, which come through really well once I scan everything through. And then for extra dark elements and little details, I go in with my Posca paint pens, which are acrylic-based ink. And then for some features, I let them stick through, and for others, I go in with a little bit of water just to blend them in a little bit more, like with the skull teeth and the eyes of the ghost. But on the spider, I want them to be really bold and pigmented, both with the black ink that I add and the white ink. As soon as I finish with the elements, I let them dry first, and then I move on to the sort of damask leaves. I don't know if there's another word for that, but I look towards my plan, my little sketch on the side, and then I paint out the leaves in general shapes, right? I'm not doing the full pattern because, again, symmetry is hard for me. So I do each little element so that I can then kind of cut them out and collage them in the way that works best. But again, I like doing it all on the same sheet because I like making sure that things line up properly and match well and whatnot. So I did sort of the outline base, and then I add in a bunch of darker colors in thick streaks, and then add water to just kind of help blend everything out and add more texture to my adorable little leafy, flowy designs. This is sort of the main part of hand painting. After this, we get to scan everything in through my lovely scanner that is attached to my printer. And then we go into the digital world and use my drawing software Affinity to actually make the pattern. This is going to go up in a separate video that's gone up at the same time as this one. So I'll link part 2 down below in the caption to easily go check out how I turn this painting into an actual usable pattern.